I'm Belinda Sandor. Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm thrilled you're here with me today. For those of you joining for the first time, I'm Belinda Sandor, founder of the VA Connection, where I coach established and aspiring virtual assistants to create and grow and scale their business. And I work with my students in my free online classroom, my community, and my coaching programs. And so welcome everyone, come on in. So I'd love to hear where you're coming in from. Because of the constraints of Facebook and live streaming, if you want me to see your comments, jump on over to either our business page or our YouTube channel so that I can see your comments, all right? So I see a bunch of you here. Some of you are on YouTube, some of you are on Facebook. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So today we're going to talk about what holds us back. What holds us back. And it's interesting because, our mind, someone once said to me, I thought it was kind of funny. He said, my mind is not a good place for me to be alone. And that could be true for a lot of us. We have all kinds of stories we tell ourselves that get in the way. And we're going to uncover some of those today and dive a little deep into them because it can isolate us from others when that's the case. All right. So let's jump in. So I want to talk about my story a little bit. And I want to do that because so many of you have told me that you resonate with it. And then it's really made a difference for you knowing that you're not alone. And so if you're struggling with what's next, this was me when I was struggling with what's next. So this was in 2010. This is my daughter, Emily. She was about 9 years old. We lived in Boston, Massachusetts. And everything was in turmoil. Everything was feeling really chaotic. I had a failed business after really trying to make it work for about 7 or 8 years. It failed financially. I was getting divorced. There was a lot of stress, as you can imagine, with both of those things going on. I didn't have a job. I had a ton of debt. And I was about to turn 50 and it did not look the way I thought it would. I had a plan, but the worst part about it was I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do the thing I always did. I'm going to get a job. I'll get a job. And I thought that would be the fastest way to get stability and to get everything handled. But the problem was I actually couldn't get a job. And it was the first time in my life when that was the case. It had seemed like in those 7 or 8 years I had that business, everything in the world had changed. There was now, what is that thing called? Oh yeah, monster.com. And all of those big job boards, they didn't used to exist back in my early career. You went to a recruiter, you gave them your resume, they sent you out on interviews, and I would have a new job in like 3 weeks, every single time. And so now all of a sudden, it's just very, it was very intense and disorienting. And I'm thinking, what the heck? So I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to start temping. So temping is where you do contract work. There was no shortage of that. I was able to jump in right away. But what I realized was, this whole schedule that I had of being away from Emily for so many hours, and now, she's in extended daycare and all this stuff, that wasn't the lifestyle I wanted. But it did open my eyes to a new opportunity. And the opportunity was really seeing that people would pay for my services. And if I could offer them without going through the agency, I would be able to make more money. Now, the other thing that it took time for me to see this, and we'll talk a little bit about more when that moment occurred, but was, there's a lot of time that's taken in commuting and waiting for the bus, if you were me, getting dressed, all of those things, and traveling outside of the home and not having the convenience of really the control of your whole life when you're away at the office. And so I really liked that as well. And when I had my own business, even though it failed, I did have the luxury of working close to home, and I liked that. So So I'm thinking now, all right, I'm going to go out on my own. I have no idea what that looks like. I don't know any entrepreneurs. And one day I'm at the school bus stop and I'm talking to the dads, and one of the dads, his name is Will, he says, "What's new?" And I think, all right, you know what, just tell him. And so I told him, I said, I'm thinking about this business. And what's really ironic is that he just started a business and I didn't know that. And the thing that I was holding on to was that if I told people who could potentially hire me about my business, they would think I wanted something from them. They would feel a pressure from me, which is pretty hysterical looking back. But the thing is that, you know, we have these scripts. So I tell Will this, he's so excited. He wants to meet with me like within 2 days. We meet at the local ice cream shop. I remember even where we were sitting in the way in the back, and he's explaining what he needs help with. And I'm like, I can do that. I can pay your bills. I can install software on your computers. I can run errands for you. And I didn't have a car at the time, but I could walk, right? And so, and I did some work virtually, some work I did in the office. And, you know, it really, it worked, and it was very exciting. So I'm continuing to work for him. I definitely need more clients. I'm not making enough money, but I'm kind of proving the concept here of like, okay, this works. So so what happened is I'm at a wedding and I'm in the buffet line and I'm holding my plate and there's a couple in front of me and we start chit chatting, you know, how do you know the groom, blah, blah, blah. And he gives me his business card and I tell him about my business idea. I tell him I have one client and he's like, that's great. Now I don't have a card. I don't have a business name. I am flying by the seat of my pants, which is not how I like to fly. And so what happened was I connected with him on LinkedIn. Again, went through this mindset, like torturing myself that he was going to think that if I connected with him on LinkedIn, I wanted something from him. But I just said to myself, just do it anyway. And I did. And lo and behold, you know, some period of time later, I don't actually know, but, you know, a few weeks, maybe a month, he gets in touch with me. Do you know anyone that can help me with credit card processing, which I knew how to do? And I'm setting up an event. I can do that. So I say, I can. And so that was sort of a hybrid. We were creating a in-person event, but we were doing all the planning over the phone because this was before Zoom, right? So we're doing all this. This is 2010, and after he had his live event, he said, I want to do webinars. And I said, oh, that would be great. You have a big audience. You can make a lot of money, a lot of impact. And he said, but I don't know how to do it. And I said, yeah, neither do I. And he said, well, can I pay you to learn how? And I thought, okay, so this is really good. I'm getting paid to learn new stuff. And I really like this guy. And I'm expanding my client base. Now I have 2. And I'm thinking this is really good. So that was really a game changer because I could see that I could expand my business beyond where I live. But little did I know that in 2012, I was going to meet my now husband who lived 164 miles away from me. So now this became even more important because he had a job in New York City. And by me being flexible and I really leaned into everything became virtual. I had a talk with all of my clients. I invested in tools like whatever. Zoom wasn't back in 2012. There was something else. I can't remember what it was called, but I invested in that. And by then I'd have a website. You know, I have the tools I need in place, and I'm I guess you could say cooking on both burners, and I have enough clients. And so what I did was I moved everything to the cloud. So I was 100% location independent. And I guess you could say that's when I truly became a virtual assistant because I was no longer meeting with people in person. And so that was a game changer. And because of the number of people I had started to work with, and because I was staying in touch with them, nurturing my relationships and building those relationships with them, a ripple effect started. And the ripple effect was people referring me to their friends, to their family. And that's how my business started to grow. And so this is me on our wedding day in 2021. And I really believe that me choosing virtual assistants was really an important, it was like what do they call it? Like the linchpin or what do they call that stone at the top of a stone arch? I can't think, cornerstone. No, that's not it. Anyway, I can't think of it. But the point is, it was a pivotal moment when I met Greg and when I could see through technology how I could put everything up in the cloud. And so this time flexibility, really time and location flexibility, made a really big deal. And because of that, I've been able to work with over 225 entrepreneurs and bill over 20,000 billable hours, not dependent on where I lived. And I moved, this is my 5th move in, Greg and I moved to this really sweet farmhouse in April. And this was my 5th move since 2012. And I'm able to do it without any disruption from my work at all. And the result has been that I've been able to make $100,000 a year. And for 10 years in a row, that was the case, which is $1 million as a virtual assistant, not with an agency, not teaching you how to be a virtual assistant, but me in the chair I'm actually sitting in, doing the work. And, my life didn't follow the plan that I thought it would. The plan that I sort of thought was normal. You graduate from college, you get married, you have a baby, you buy a house, whatever, It wasn't really like that at all. I had my daughter when I was 40. I started my virtual assistant business when I was 50, which was really when I came into my own professionally. I married the man I'd been looking for my whole life at 60. And we became homeowners at 63. And so what I want you to know is that it's not too late. It's not too late for you to have the life you want, but you do have to start shifting your thinking and think like a successful business owner, even if you don't even really know what that means, but to see the world through a little bit of a different lens. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So let's see who's here. So Daphne's here. Hello, Frederica and Maureen. Michael is here. Nancy, hello. Let's see who else is here. Alicia is here from Kenya. And Nancy says Keystone or Capstone. Yes. Little would you know, my college degree is architectural history and historic preservation. So I know how that stone works. I just couldn't think of what it was called. So thank you. And Tammy is here from Minnesota. That's awesome. Good, good, good. All right. So let's dive into this topic. All right. Let's dive deeper into this topic. So people create beliefs. It's like a belief is a thought that you've decided is true. So you could think anything. And one of the number one things that I've realized in my life is that just because I think it doesn't make it true. It's really important to look at our beliefs, to look at our thoughts and decide which ones are going to serve our lives and which ones are not. And, some of these beliefs were created as children, others we adopted as adults. And it's sort of like our map of the world, like our, decoder ring of the world. When I see this, it means that. And what happens as a result is we start to live on autopilot, and that's a very dangerous way to live if you want to be an entrepreneur. Now, a lot of, entrepreneurs, we're a different group. We are very much a different way of thinking. We have different behaviors. Our view of the world is it's just different from people who are content with jobs. And so, it's interesting because these beliefs that we have, they can work for us or they can work against us. Now, if as an entrepreneur, I would go into a room of, now I love my husband, it was his birthday yesterday, but if I go into a room, and I love accountants, need them, of accountants who have worked at big 6 or however many big whatever firms there are these days, and ask them about my entrepreneurial ideas, they would not be able to advise me. Those are not the people I should be asking. So we really need to make sure when we're getting advice from people about our ideas that they are like-minded like we are. And that's one of the things I love about VA School, my signature program, is that when people enroll, they are put into a cohort with other people working toward the same goal. And that is really exciting. Now, let's talk about some of these beliefs, okay? All right, so here's one that I have heard many, many times. And so I really want to just, chop this off cut it off at the pass. So virtual assistants and new virtual assistants believe that what they charge depends on the client's budget, right? They think that it's, that there's a negotiation. And so, they'll go into a conversation, a discovery call, and the client will say, this is what I want done. And then someone will say, what's your budget? So now all of a sudden you're in a negotiation. And as a professional service provider, I don't want you to be in a negotiation. I want you to set your rates up front, and I want you to charge those rates. So how much the client can afford has absolutely zero to do with what we charge. Now, if this is like a big aha for you, I want you to write it down. How much the client can afford has zero to do with how much we charge. Okay. And this might mean that we're not a good fit for everyone, and that's okay. Of the 225 clients I've worked with, I'm quite certain I probably had over 600 discovery calls. So 2/3 of the people were not a good fit. So that's fine. I'm not working for $37 an hour. I'm working for $50 an hour, 60, and eventually $90 an hour. So you just want to realize that you may not be a good fit, but that doesn't mean you have to change your pricing. What that means is you need to maybe change where you're networking, or change, how you're talking about what you're doing, or look at your newsletter content and make sure it's serving you. But it doesn't mean you need to lower your rate. Okay. Now, another, so the first common misbelief or misconception is that the client's budget has something to do with how much you charge. All right. Another one is that you have to choose a niche. Now, any of you who have been around me for more than 5 minutes know that choosing a niche is a surefire way to limit who you work with. So here's the story. So in 2010, I decide I'm going to have a niche. All right. Because I read the books, all the business books tell you this. You need a niche, and there's even some saying about the fortune is in the niche or something. It's just not true. So I decided that I was going to work with startups. I thought it would be really fun and cool and kind of edgy, like working with these cool entrepreneurs who have these big ideas. And the problem was I didn't know anyone starting up a business. So when people ask me who I work with, I say startups. And what happens is when I said that, the light bulb was not going off for them if they didn't know anyone who was in a startup. Yeah, Daphne says the riches are in the niches, or in the niches. Right. And so I'm looking for startups, and I only feel like I should work with startups. So I am walking by thousands of dollars of people who are entrepreneurs who need help with things that I can do because they're not a startup. Now, do you see how silly that is? Now, over time, if there's something you really like to do, like one of my students, she's really gotten into supporting attorneys doing some very specific work. Most of her clients are doing that work. Most of her billable hours are doing that work. That's fine. That's fine, because she's attracting them. She's doing the work, and it's working out. She's also been a VA for over 10 years. So that could have happened 1 year in, 3 years in, but don't force it, right? Don't force it. You're just putting extra pressure on yourself when you do that. All right. And what I found over my entire career as a VA was it was really the services I offered, and not necessarily who I offered them to, that became my niche. Okay, so think about that too. And so that is the second misconception, that we need a niche. We absolutely do not. Now, the third belief, and it's funny because sometimes we have this discussion in VA school, and we have it often. And the reason we have it often, and I don't mind it, but the reason we have it often is because people are so tied down to this, because they see it everywhere. If they've been, they believe this is true. But a lot of people believe that you have to, in order to find clients, you have to cold call, you have to be strategic, you've got to prospect, you've got to, figure out who might hire you, kind of like scour your network, and then go in for the kill. It doesn't work like that. It's much easier than that. All right. It's much easier than that. So your best clients are going to come from referrals. So what you need to do is practice talking about your work in a clear, simple way, which we definitely have learned at the VA Connection, and spread the word, network, tell new people. But going out and finding people that you think might hire you or might need you, and then trying to convince them that they do, not only is that a lot of work, it's awkward, it's transactional, meaning the person's going to feel like you're kind of coming at them. Where if you instead get clear on on how to talk about your work and you spread the word everywhere, the people who need you will come to you. You know, it was funny because when I first started the VA Connection, people would say to me, where do you find your clients? Where do you find your clients? And what I realized after reflecting for a few minutes is that my clients found me. And the reason they found me was I learned how to keep in touch with people. And that is a critical part of what I teach in VA school, which I call sprinkling, which is staying in touch with people over and over. And it's kind of like building a machine. You know, you network, you meet somebody new, you have a one-on-one with them, you put them in your newsletter list, you send your newsletter, you know, and you repeat, and it just keeps going like this. And the result is that you're staying in touch with people with not a lot of effort, based on the numbers, right? Based on the numbers. So writing a newsletter that might take you 3 hours, you send it to 20 people, that's a lot of work. You grow your list, you send it to 50, 70, 200 people, that's when the leverage starts to come in. So you really want to, you really want to think about that. Okay, good, good. Now you have the power to rewrite the script. You have the power to rewrite the script. And today I've given you 3 scripts that you can rewrite. There are many more. There are many more. So look into your life as a virtual assistant, as a human being, and see what kind of correlations are you making. Like, for example, I live in Iowa, therefore I can only charge $20 an hour. I've been a VA for 6 months, therefore I can only charge fill in the blank. So anywhere that you have some kind of assumption that you're operating on, I want you to really see what you can do to blow it up, because it's just like shackles around your ankles holding you back. We all have them, and we'll continue to have them. Our job is to go in and knock out the ones that we can. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, everybody, thank you so much for coming. If you're not already a subscriber to our YouTube channel, please head on over there, the VA Connection, subscribe, ring the bell. We have free trainings every single week, and I would love to have you as part of these conversations. So have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.